Imagine this. You get a frantic call from your friend in the middle of the night saying that there's about to be a Demogorgon invasion and they need you to help save the world. Do you jump out of bed and prepare to defeat the evil from the upside down? Or do you take a second to think before you make your decision? If you chose the latter, you'd soon realize that a Demogorgon is the monster from Stranger Things, and your mate was simply pulling your leg. My name is Anna Marie, and in this quick set, I'm going to help you form unbiased opinions and analyze situations through structured thinking techniques, so you don't end up in Stranger Things. Before we dive into the details, take a look at the words on screen. How many words could be a type of thinking? The answer is all of them are. When you think about what to wear tomorrow or calculate how to cross a busy road, you probably had no idea there were so many ways to think about a problem. In this quick set, I'm going to focus on two ways of thinking: critical and independent thinking, as they are the most required in the world of work today. Let's start by clarifying the difference between the two. Critical thinking is the ability to think clearly and rationally and understand the logical connection between ideas or facts. On the other hand, independent thinking is the ability to analyze situations using your own judgment and knowledge, rather than conforming to peer and public opinion. Although they sound different, they are intrinsically linked. To be an independent thinker, you have to be able to think critically, and vice versa. Let's look a little deeper into critical thinking. It is important because it helps to improve decision making, it enhances problem solving ability, it refines your research skills, polishes your creativity, and stimulates your curiosity. You'll be required to think critically when studying at college or managing a task at work. For example, when creating this quick set, I had to think critically. I had to research a topic, find out more about you, the audience, decide whether the information to include was current, relevant, or factual, and select the content that would be both engaging and informative. Some jobs that require critical thinking include teachers and educators, data analysts, accountants, project managers, doctors, lawyers, engineers, and technologists. As I mentioned earlier, there's an intrinsic link between critical and independent thinking. Let's look at independent thinking a little further. In this digital age, having this skill is very important because we are constantly sharing and receiving information daily. So a good example of independent thinking is the ability to differentiate between facts and fake news. Independent thinking means you do not follow others' opinion blindly, but analyze all sources of input and information to form your own opinion. It also helps you discover more of who you are and your likes and dislikes. It helps you be more creative and be better prepared for leadership positions. Some jobs that require independent thinking include business leaders, social media managers, consultants, recruitment and human resources, and IT specialists. To make the most effective decisions using both critical and independent thinking is key. Woo! That was a lot to take in. Now let's check in with Tolu Farinto, who is an experienced social entrepreneur and throughout his working career has had to use both skills interchangeably. So I'm sure you have some valuable information for us today. So this quick set is all about critical and independent thinking. And as a social entrepreneur or someone who's socially conscious, I'm sure things are changing all the time. So how do you use your critical thinking versus your independent thinking in various situations in your work life?
You know, we all have habits, and those habits can form the way that we think, the way that we make decisions, the way at the speed at which we make decisions. And one of the questions I always ask myself critically to ensure that I'm not making the wrong decision or coming to the wrong conclusion is, what am I missing? Because often you can have brilliant experience. You might even know, you've done your 10,000 hours, you know your craft, you know your trade, and you make a decision and you feel like that decision is the right decision. But most of us actually don't know what we don't know. And one of the things that's always caught me from kind of making a bad decision, not like intentionally, is just catching myself and asking the critical question of, what am I missing? And often when I kind of take a step back and ask myself that question, all of these new information points flood in, or I reach out to the right people to ensure that I've kind of covered all the bases. But yeah, asking myself that question, what am I missing, is really, really important. Kind of help me to be
I think that's
successful.
great information. I hope our listeners take that on board. I'm going to start asking myself that too. So, how do you think your ability to be both an independent and a critical thinker has contributed to your career success?
I come up with interesting ideas, come at things from a different perspective and a different angle. Because in terms of independent thinking, I often don't get swayed by the masses. And I try to stay away from groupthink as much as possible. And that has 100% stemmed from my uncles, who were significant role models in my life. They just was always telling me to go against the grain. My uncle would always tell me to question everything, and when he was watching the news, he'd be like, nah, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. And I'd be like, hold on a second, it's coming out of the TV, it must be true. He's like, no, question it always. So I think being able to independently think is important. Like, take a step back from what everybody else is saying and saying, why are they thinking that way? Like, what's my true perspective on it, or what is my like true lived experience telling me about what they're discussing? Is it different, and how can I add a different perspective to that? I think in corporations, organizations, and within society, everybody is now talking about diversity and inclusion. All of those things are really, really powerful, but bringing difference into various spaces is important. But as long as that difference is valued and can be brought into those spaces. So if you are different, but then you're trying to conform, you're almost nullifying the reason why you're there. So being an independent thinker and holding true to what your instinct or gut or perspective is telling you, I think is really, really important to ensure that you're adding something fresh or adding something new to any given dynamic. In terms of like critical thinking, again, going back to the question that I raised earlier, asking yourself what you're missing, I feel like that's really helped me to ensure that the ideas that I come up with, or the solutions that I come up with, are as good as I possibly can make them. And that goes down into the detail. Every employer or organization, one of their key things is making money, right? Or outperforming their competitors. But that only comes as a consequence of innovation. And innovation is lots of different thinking about how you can take an existing product, how you can make it better, how you can, appeal to different consumers, new audiences. But that comes from being an independent thinker and also using your critical thinking skills to really break down what are the needs of those individuals, or how you can make the product or service within your organization better. So even if you look at the way that employers hire now, before, side hustles weren't a thing that you needed to have to be in an organization, but now employees almost want them, because they see side hustles as someone's ability to think differently, but also add a different perspective into the organization, or be in certain circles that can add something new. So I think that's why those skills are vitally important to employers. They want to innovate, they want to develop high performing teams, which also need independent and critical thinkers. And they want to make money. I don't think there's any two ways about that.
Okay, so all in all, very, very valuable for our young people to develop. But what if they are in a stage where they do want to get a job now? How does a young person go about developing these skills, like critical and independent thinking?
Part of the way that I reinforce those skills is continuous learning. I feel like learning traditionally is set in the context of the classroom, but you can learn from lots of different things, like watching a YouTube interview, or reading a book, or listening to a book if you are dyslexic, for example. But I think learning is a continuous thing that we do as human beings. But I think accelerating that learning process really helps to build those skills, because you're absorbing lots of information, and that information might contradict what you already hold to be true. And we talk about biases and confirmation bias, but confirmation bias is really, really interesting, because we grow up in society, we navigate our different lives, and all of those things form the way that we view the world. Now, we are looking for things within our society, within the things we read, to confirm our viewpoints instead of contradict it. But what we should actually be doing is looking for things that contradict our viewpoint, because in that way we understand actually we might be missing that piece of information. Again, going back to that question, what am I missing? You can only do that by acquiring different viewpoints and different information.
Thank you, Tolu, for sharing some valuable information with us. Let's move on to some tips that will help you increase your critical and independent thinking ability. Be curious and ask questions. Having more information will give you more clarity to be able to move forward. Don't be afraid to dig a little deeper when you need answers. Have the courage to accept failure. You're not always going to be right, and that's okay. Trial and error is a part of research, so you must have the courage to face failure with a bold heart and be willing to change your approach. Consider foresight. Think about the long-term effects of your decision. Interact with different people and engage with different content is the best way to expand your mind. Be willing to explore outside of your comfort zone, which will bring some valuable knowledge about other people's experiences. Let's hear directly from one of Apprentice Nation's artists, BERWYN, who shares how he utilizes these two skills to get ahead in his career. Thanks for being here with me today, BERWYN.
Thank you for having me.
Let's go back to when you started making music. How did you decide this is the genre that I'm going to make and this is what I'm happy with? What was the process?
When I first properly decided I was going to make my own little project and see what I could do musically for myself and make it out, there was a bit of drill coming out. Drill was the hottest thing. And whatever young Anton was up to in terms of the UK, you know? Didn't really quite suit me. To be honest, I was bouncing around loads of genres. And I think the minute I stopped looking for genres was the minute I started making music. Yeah, it was weird. And then I made all those songs that ended up on the tape, and then when they were done, I was like, oh, there's no genres. You know what I mean? I remember playing it for my little brother, and he was like, there's no, you know what I'm saying? And that was like an obvious answer to like an unsuccessful body of work. So I spent like 2 weeks making it, and probably about 6 months after that, just trying to make songs that helped it made sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ended up just leaving it where it was to songs that have no genre at all, really. Yeah, they call it alternative.
Alternative.
Yeah, I'll take that, fair enough.
And it's working well for you.
Yeah.
We love to see it.
Yeah.
So this quick set, we're talking about critical thinking and independent thinking. I feel like you're a bit of both. Okay. But what would you say your preferred style is? Are you forming your own decisions and then going to your team saying, I've thought of this is what I want to do? Or do you go to your team first and seek input from them? I
think there's fools that sit on either side. And I think only a wise man knows that you can't sit on one side, you know? Like, you can't really just go by what other people have told you your whole life. But then you also can't understand that me, 27 years of existence, I'm gonna know the answers in relevance to a 40-year-old, far less 400 years old knowledge, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I just think a bit yin and yang, a healthy balance. Yeah. Humility to understand the balance as well. Like,
okay, great, that's a great approach. I like that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Thank you so much, BERWYN, for chatting with me. I want to share this thinking framework with you. It's a useful tool to use when faced with a decision that requires you to think critically. It's who, what, when, where, why, and how. You're probably familiar with it. Who? Who are the people involved? Who does it benefit and who does it hinder? What? What are the facts? What are the strengths, weaknesses? What are other perspectives? When? When is this taking place? When can we take action? Where? Where is it happening? Where will the results take us? Why? Why does this exist? Why is this a problem or a challenge? And how? How do we approach this? How similar is this to something else? Okay, so we've covered critical and independent thinking, how and why they are important, and how to apply them. Remember that Demogorgon situation I asked you at the start? Knowing what you know now about critical and independent thinking, would you say yes or no? Surely it's a no, but if it's a yes, then I wish you the best of luck on your quest. Seriously, regardless of the answer, it's about the process you use to be able to analyze the situation and apply both critical and independent thinking to arrive at the right decision in any circumstance. For further learning, check out the following Apprentice Nation quick sets: problem-solving hacks, why learnability is a core skill for life, and unleash your leadership skills. While you're there, make sure to check out our amazing list of Apprentice Nation mentors. A closing quote from Apprentice Nation is always take to your own stage, and a quote from the late Christopher Hitchens, the essence of the independent mind lies not in what it thinks, but in how it thinks. I'll see you again soon. Bye.